Welcome back to the 37th episode of the BatChums podcast. I'm Drew Leiter, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the man, the myth, the new legend, Mike Gordon.
Howdy, yes. I couldn't resist. Even though you know the neighborhood I come from, I couldn't resist using the archer's vernacular, so to speak.
All right, so tonight we are talking Batman 66, Season 2, Episode 2, Walk the Straight and Narrow.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Episode aired Thursday, September 8th, 1966, directed by Sherman Marks and written by Stanley Ralph Ross.
Now, one thing I do want to point out, because I think last week we were pretty harsh on the first part of this one, and not unrightly so. But I still want to point out to people who are watching, listening, et cetera, we still love this show a lot. Like it's like even a poorly executed episode of Batman 60 series still is so amazingly fun to watch. So I certainly don't want to give the impression that we were just all down and out and nothing was great about the last episode or whatever. I think we were both taken off guard by the fact that season 2 kind of started this way. I think we're just sort of used to season premieres being a big deal. And especially with, coming off the success of the movie and the first season, you kind of figured they would start off season 2, with a bang. And it just seemed like it was not a bang. But, there was still some fun stuff to it. And the second part here, I think, gets a little bit better than the first part. So I am curious to hear what your thoughts on it as we continue.
All right, well, let's just dive right on in.
Let's do it.
Batman and Robin are tied to red poles with feathers on top. Archer and his gang charge at Batman and Robin on horseback with jousting lances.
Do you notice that the music
we're gonna
here...
have to consult.
Oh, right. Yeah, before we do that.
Yeah.
Before we do anything, Magic Batman. It's been a while, Magic Batman.
Batman is back.
Woohoo!
All right,
Season 2, Magic Batman.
All right, Magic Batman. Will Batman and Robin die by jousting lances? Let's see what he says. Gotta shake him up real good here. All right, here we go. Affirmative.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's the end of the show. Thanks for joining us, folks.
All right, man. Magic Batman has spoken. Well, he's been out of practice for a little while now. So,
yeah.
It's going to be a little rough, I think. So until he gets on the straight and narrow, so to speak, right?
Yep. Maybe we couldn't get rid of that bomb.
What I was about to say before Magic Batman so incorrectly with his prediction interrupted, is that the music here as they're charging seems very much like a Superman theme. Like it seems like a minstrel version of a Superman theme because it kind of goes da 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 da, and I was like, whoa, this seems kind of strange here, but I don't think that was intentional. I think they're going for a more, sort of epic Robin Hood type theme. And that would, sort of, align with a hero theme like Superman and everything. But it sounds kind of like Superman, like I thought. But in any case.
All right. As Archer and his gang charge towards them with lances pointed, Batman and Robin kick their heels together because there's no place like home.
I see what you did there.
Batman and Robin click their heels together, activating the bat springs in their boots. Batman and Robin leap safely into the air while Archer and his gang stab their lances into the poles where Batman and Robin just were.
Which seems like, if Batman and Robin were to stay there and they were getting lanced or jousted to death, man, that seems kind of brutal. It doesn't seem like we've seen the Archer and his crew be that brutal throughout the first part of this episode. I mean, they even had a chance to behead Alfred, but that was just for show. It just seems odd that they would do something this brutal to Batman and Robin, especially out in the open like this on some sort of what it looks like a golf course, really.
I have to agree with you because when we've seen Archer and his gang shooting their arrows at people, they're not actually trying to hit them or anything. They usually have gases coming out of them or something to knock them out or
Yeah,
whatever.
it
So
just
they're not
seems
intentionally trying to kill anybody.
yeah, it seems kind of brutal for them. This kind of they're just sort of leveling up here, I guess, in some ways, which is uh, so it works out. It works out for everybody that except for Magic Batman, that that the Bat Spring saved the day.
Batman tells Archer he has his number. Archer replies, "That is impossible. His number is unlisted." Archer tells Maid Marilyn to push the cheer button on his audience box, but she drops it. The audience box breaks. Archer exclaims that Maid Marilyn broke his ego, making
His ego machine.
yeah, I don't know what I was trying to say. Archer exclaims that Maid Marilyn broke his ego making machine and has rendered him helpless.
I mean, this this episode is bonkers. It's really there's a lot that happens here, and there's like a lot of it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's very surreal, actually, um, because there's certain, as ridiculous as it gets, there is a certain logic to some of these bad episodes, but in this case, some of this stuff just seems kind of like, the writers were on some kind of 60s drugs or something.
Archer and his gang ride off on horseback while Batman and Robin untie themselves. The dynamic duo free Alfred. Batman and Robin pay a visit to Mr. Dale to find out about the Wayne Foundation's $10 million. They learn it is coming straight from the mint, but Mr. Dale will reveal nothing else about it. That seemed like a weird interaction, if you ask me.
Yeah, Alan A. Dale is this weird sort of campy, almost dare I say, I don't know if he's coded because he does seem a bit feminine. But when he's talking about like nice cape, Batman, it's like okay, and but there is this weird sort of subtext in this whole episode, this whole story, two-parter about how, and it looks like it's intentionally satirical about how the rich have all the power in Gotham and the poor are just kind of left to their own devices. And Batman here is confronted, he's confronted with this accountant who we suspect is on the take, as I mentioned in the first part of the episode, but we haven't got that confirmed yet. And he's not giving Batman information, and he's hiding behind Bruce Wayne. And of course, Batman knows that Bruce Wayne wouldn't sign off on a lot of this stuff, but he can't say that. And there's this just sort of weird exchange here that, yeah, like I said, this episode is just kind of bonkers.
Meanwhile, Archer and his gang are hiding out in the basement of police headquarters. Mr. Dale shows up and tells Archer when they can rob the armored car carrying the $10 million for the Wayne Foundation.
So it's
For a
revealed.
cut of the take, of course.
Of course, Alan A. Dale is in on it. Yes, we've finally established that for sure.
Yeah, not surprising whatsoever.
No, not really.
An exploding arrow lands in front of the armored car, stopping it. A second exploding arrow hits right above the roof of the cabin, and a third exploding arrow hits the rear doors, causing them to open.
These are not just exploding arrows. They're exploding trick arrows because they go around corners.
Now,
They're two trick arrows in one. So take that, green arrow.
two, ar- two armored men exit the driver and passenger seats. Archer and his men fire specially made crooked arrows that can travel around corners. The arrows land in front of the men, giving off a red gas. The armed guards run away to safety. And that's exactly what I was talking about there. They weren't trying to target the guards to kill them,
No,
just knock them out with their gas.
right, exactly. Well, they don't even do that because the guards
Right,
are
because they
away.
run away.
The guards are
But I
like
think
the guards are pretty smart. Like, hey, let's run away from the gas.
so. And
I love
those
how
arms,
it's
those
made.
guards weren't. Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna
I
say
was
I
going to
love
say
how. All right, go.
point out the armored guards don't have just pistols. They're carrying like rifle looking guns, these big long guns.
The I love how it's Maid Marilyn who hops in the truck. She is their official like truck driver.
Yep. Maybe that's because she can eat while she's driving. Because that's all you ever see her do is eat. Maid Marilyn runs to the truck, gets into the driver's seat, and drives off with the armored truck. The armed men chase after the truck, finding it a little further down the alley. They are surprised to find the money in the back of the truck. No one stole it, just jostled it around.
Bunkers.
8 hours 8 hours have passed since the strange turn of events. At Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne receives a call from Commissioner Gordon informing him that Batman and Robin will be attending today's event at City Hall, where the Wayne Foundation will be giving the $10 million to the needy. Bruce tells Aunt Harriet that something came up that requires both his and Dick's attention. She looks puzzled as Bruce and Dick race off to the study.
And Alfred as well.
Oh, yes. Well,
Now,
no, because Alfred was already in the study.
oh, was he?
Yeah, because
Okay.
you'll find out in my next paragraph.
Gotcha.
In this, oh, go ahead.
But before we get to the study, they tell Aunt Harriet here. We see Aunt Harriet for the first time this season, and she still doesn't speak at all. He has nothing to say. She's just sort of like, there they go again. But I'm kind of wondering, especially since, the movie and everything, like, did Madge Blake like not have vocal cords or something going on like for a month or two? Because yeah, this is again, we see Aunt Harriet, but we don't hear Aunt Harriet.
I mean, that's always possible. We would never know it if she had some sort of cold or something.
I guess not. I just, it just seemed weird to me that it's like, hey, it's Aunt Harriet, and then she just doesn't say anything. And but I mean, I guess at this point, after a season of watching them just run off together all the time, she's just speechless.
In the study, Alfred is messing with the chair's cushion when Bruce tells him to meet them in the Batcave. Bruce and Dick run to the bat poles with Alfred closely following on their heels. Alfred realizes he's going the wrong way and takes the service elevator to the Batcave.
I think this is a key indication that at times when Bruce and Dick are not there, Alfred goes down the pole.
Well, that would be a fun way to go to the Batcave.
I mean,
I wonder if he ever flips the switch and tries to wear the bat costume.
well, I mean, it's possible that he had to go back and go down the right pole and flip the switch because of what happens in a few minutes. But go ahead.
On the way down the poles, Bruce hits a switch that states negate Bruce's change. Bruce tells Alfred that he will be taking his place as Batman.
Okay, so the movie introduced the switch, that we finally get a costume change switch, so we understand how this works now. That they as they're going down the poles, they flip, Bruce flips a switch, and then they get in a costume. And we know that it can be reversed because we see that in the movie too, where it goes back up and he goes back into civilian gear. Now we've got another feature on the Switch. I mean, the Switch was just introduced like like in the movie. So now we've got yet another function of the Switch where he can not change into costume, even though he had to flip a switch to change into costume.
Well, if you remember, though, when he flips the switch, it changes both of them, apparently. So he'd
Yes,
have to have a negate switch for himself to stay as Bruce, but for Dick to be Robin.
I suppose you're right. I suppose you're right. Yeah,
I don't know. Somebody
that,
somebody thought through that.
that individual was clever and on drugs.
Yeah, because the notion of automatically switching your clothes with the flip of a switch is kind of silly.
It's fun though. It's awesome.
Yes,
It's that would be awesome.
it would be awesome.
Tiring, but awesome.
Down at City Hall, Batman and Robin watch over the proceedings from a
Whoa, whoa,
nearby
whoa, 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 whoa,
rooftop.
wait. You just skipped over the whole thing where they have to ask Alfred to that he has to sub for Batman.
No, I already said that. I said
Uh,
Bruce tells Alfred that he will be taking his place as Batman.
Gotcha.
You weren't
Okay.
paying attention.
You're right. You're right. The but Alfred seems to be, up for it. But we see right here, like it's clear as day that Alfred is at least like 7 inches taller than than Bruce.
Now we've seen Alfred in the Bat costume before, right? I'm pretty sure we
I
had.
don't think so. I think this is the first time. I think this is the first time where we've seen someone else in the Bat costume before because one of the villain's thugs dressed up like Batman to see Commissioner Gordon at the police headquarters one time, and Bruce was there. And that was the first time I think we've seen Bruce and Batman together on screen. But I mean, even in the movie, Alfred has his own gear. Like he dresses up in a butler suit with with a hat and a mask, a domino mask, much like Robin's. Um, and so I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think this is the first time I think we've seen Alfred in the Batman suit.
I
It
just
won't be
swore
the
he did
last, I
it.
don't think.
No, it's not the last. I remember him doing it before. I don't remember this episode, but I do remember Alfred being in the Bat costume before. So it happens more than once. I would have
Yeah.
swore we talked about it in one of the episodes
I
in season
mean,
one.
look right now, things are so bonkers. I might be mixed up. I'd have to look it up, but I will say that, Alan Napier, doesn't look too shabby in that suit. I'm just saying, like looks like he's pretty fit.
Down at City Hall, Batman and Robin watch over the proceedings from a nearby rooftop. Of course, Alfred is disguised as Batman. Bruce Wayne is on the street standing next to Mr. Dale. Commissioner Gordon joins them, telling Mr. Dale that Mr. Marshall Rowland, Commissioner of Poor People and former governor, is residing over the ceremony. He is an
Commissioner
old
of Poor
fraternity
People.
brother of Commissioner Gordon from GCU.
Of course, GCU, Commissioner of Poor People. We have a Commissioner of Poor People.
And I'm guessing that GCU stands for Gotham City University.
I would think so.
So,
Sort of a play on NYU, I'm sure.
yeah. When Mr. Rowland starts handing out money to the poor, it is soon discovered that the money is counterfeit. Commissioner Gordon grabs a bullhorn from Chief O'Hara and informs Batman. Bruce excuses himself to call his insurance company about the theft.
I do have to, even though, we got, a pretty cool cameo in the first episode with Dick Clark. Um, this isn't just a guy in a window or anything, but the name of the actor who's playing the first poor person to get money, uh, Archer Bucks. We find out is our Archer Bucks. Um, the character's name is Zoltan Zorba, and the actor who's playing him is Sam Jaffe, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But this guy was making movies I mean, this guy is an established actor, character actor that did a lot of work. I mean, he worked for almost 100 years. I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, he worked from the early 1900s to I think his passing in the 80s. And I mean, he did movies like Gunga Din, Asphalt Jungle, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Day the Earth Stood Still, Ben-Hur. He's also, did TV appearances like Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, and all of that stuff. Like Columbo, like he's done everything. That guy just shows up everywhere, and it's kind of cool to see him here. And it's an unheralded cameo, but I still think it was notable because, like I said, I mean, that guy's just in everything.
Bruce meets with Alfred and Robin. Bruce gives Alfred a bat speech imitator that will mimic his own voice. When Batman and Robin meet with Commissioner Gordon, Batman keeps his distance. Robin tells Commissioner Gordon that Batman has a cold. Commissioner Gordon tells Robin that Batman is looking a little thinner these days. Is he all right? Robin says that except for the cold, that Batman is fine. Commissioner tells Robin to make sure Batman gets some relaxation and to eat all his vegetables.
Yeah, he needs to eat his vegetables.
Something tells me that was put in there for the kids.
we get a lot of that. As daft as Gordon is, we've seen it before. He knows Batman well enough that if somebody is dressed up as Batman, he could tell it's not the real Batman.
Alfred and Robin return to the Batcave in the Batmobile. In the Batcave, Batman reveals that Archer and his gang won't be able to spend the money because the banks will be on the lookout for the serial numbers. He must be taking it to Switzerland. Batman remembers that Mr. Dale was headed to Fire Cove, the last island before heading to Europe. Batman and Robin race to the Batboat via the Batmobile.
And we get our movie footage. Now that the movie has spent all the money to give us things like Batboat, Batcopter, and a new Batbike, we're probably gonna see that a lot more, and it's all gonna be the same footage. And sure enough, it's the same footage when they arrive on the dock and when they slide down the pole to get to the boat. Still looks cool. Still looks very cool.
Yeah,
it's cool to see that but I'm surprised that they used it so fast.
Yeah, they did use it fairly quick.
I mean, it's only the second episode.
We're used to it with this show. We see a lot of stock footage reused.
Yeah, of course, all the Batmobile stuff is coming out of the Batcave is usually stock footage. But it looked like when they were off to the Batboat, it looked like that was a little bit different Batmobile footage when they first come out of the cave. And I don't know if that was from the movie as well, but it looked a little different than what they usually do when they're going, at the beginning of the show when they're going to, Gotham City in 14 miles. I don't know how far away the Batboat is. No, we don't know.
On the streets of Gotham, a woman driver calls over a police officer and asks him why Batman and Robin are able to go speeding through Gotham, running through lights and cutting around corners. The officer replies that Batman is a deputized officer of the law. When Batman is not pursuing a dangerous criminal, he drives more safely than any motorist that he's ever seen. The officer adds that Batman lectures on traffic safety in his off hours at driving classes all over the city.
Hmm.
I feel like this was put in too just to tell teenage drivers not to be racing around.
Could be. Don't be like Batman. Because you can be sure that if Batman is racing somewhere, he's doing so for the safety of us all. That gets applause. It's almost like the minstrels the archer's ego machine is back working.
The Bat boat arrives next to Archer's boat. Batman and Robin board. Archer and his gang fire arrows at them, but they are protected by the Bat shield.
That's pretty
When
cool.
the arrows don't work, Mr. Dale hands Archer and his men swords. Holy Blackbeard! Batman and Robin plow through the Archer and his men with their Bat shield. Maid Marilyn hollers at Batman and Robin through a port window. She hands them both swords to even the odds.
Wow,
A battle ensues.
Why does she do that?
I don't know. I thought that was strange that all of a sudden she's helping them.
At the beginning of the episode, when the narrator is giving us the events from the first episode, he says, Batman, the dynamic duo make a friend. And but is she friend or foe? And it's like, no, she's a foe. Like she's pretty foe-ish until this moment where she just hands them swords. Which I don't understand why she does that, but okay. We do know that the women have soft spots for Batman and Robin. So I guess we just have to check it off with that. But again, bonkers episode.
Maybe they should have brought her a bucket of chicken. Hey, here, have this. Can you hand us the swords? A battle ensues with Archer and his men. The sword fight gives way to fists. Archer and his men are defeated.
Well, that's because when the Archer and his men lose their swords, Batman and Robin, to be fair, drop theirs as well. And
Yep, they
then
do.
and go after them mano a mano. Like they're upstanding, heroes where if the villains have an advantage or if they have a disadvantage, they actually take that into account and proceed accordingly.
Back at Wayne Manor, Bruce and Dick practice archery. Alfred puts an apple on Dick's head, ready to show his skills. Bruce states they shouldn't take any unnecessary risks. Dick puts the apple on the target. Alfred fires his arrow and misses. He would have hit Dick right between the eyes. Alfred states he forgot to dust the bat cave and leaves.
Very strange way to end this bonkers episode. Because earlier we saw, like in the first episode, we saw Alfred and he hit the mark every single time.
Yep, he did. So that was just strange that he missed there.
It was
And
just
Alfred seemed
really strange.
surprised that he missed.
Yeah, well, I was surprised that he missed. I mean, after his performance in the first episode, when things were on the line, it was pretty stressful, and yet Alfred came through. Alfred is an MVP here, definitely taking one or two or three for the team this in the story. But it is bonkers. I must say the first time I watched it, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, this is just more of the same that we got in the first, episode. But then the second time I was watching it with my partner Michelle, and she was just howling. She thought it was so fun, and she was just like, this is crazy, and who writes this stuff and all of that, and it really made me enjoy it much more. I think it's written very strangely. I mean, there's a lot of things that don't make sense that we pointed out. even more so than usual. Um, but there is a lot of cool exchanges here, and uh, I think that I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the main villain is the Archer and Art Carney himself. And I don't mean to dismiss Art Carney because I think he's a great actor. Again, as we pointed out before, people know him for his long time role as uh Norton, right? In The Honeymooners. And I think I got that right. And in any case, I know he was in The Honeymooners. And he did like significant work after that too. I mean, he was in a night a sort of a dark comedy called Harry and Tonto, where he played an aging detective with Lily Tomlin, and it's a great movie, and he's a great actor. I just think that something was off here. And when I was doing the research in the Cinefantastic magazine with a episode guide that I've been referring to for people who are watching this on video, there it is. It did say interesting here that dialogue coach Milton Stark remembered that Art Carney was very sad during his stint as the Archer. Quote, something was happening in his personal life then. I went to a dressing room to help him out, and he said, gee, kid, I hope you don't mind, but I just don't feel up to it at the moment. I'm comfortable. I know my lines. I'll call you when I'm ready. But he said the minute that he got in front of that camera, he turned it on. It's like a racehorse. When they hear the bell, they off they go. It's amazing. So, and I do think there are moments of this, certainly when they were on the ship and he was not just the archer, but he was kind of the pirate archer. He seemed to dial it up a notch, which I thought was kind of fun. So maybe something was going on with his personal life and he just couldn't give it everything he had. And I think also that the character wasn't as fleshed out as some of the other characters because he wasn't really from the comics, as much as, the others that we've seen are. So they didn't have as much to work with, and the whole Robin Hood thing is kind of hard to pull off too. I think it's just a lot. And I think it just doesn't work as well for me as say like some of the other, newer villains that were introduced in season one, like King Tut or the Bookworm.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
I mean, overall, did you have other notes or thoughts about it?
Not not really. I mean, to me, this seemed just like an average episode. For being the two-part start of the season, it was pretty mediocre, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's unfortunate that but I mean they do happen. And look, I mean, they can't all be winners. But as I pointed out in the beginning of the episode, a mediocre episode of Batman 66 is still fun.
Yeah. Oh, it was definitely still fun. So, I mean, I enjoyed watching them, but it just didn't have what I think a season opener needs.
Right. Or
So,
or just any like it didn't feel as like, like when we see a Joker or Riddler, Catwoman, or even a King Tut story, there's just some magic sparks there that just seem to be lacking here. So, and it could be a lot of things, but in any case, it still has some really crazy moments. I love the Alfred dressing up as Batman here. I mean, that's fun, and they play around with that a bit. Then there's a lot of other crazy little things that we've mentioned that are just pretty interesting, and it's not a quote unquote typical episode. It might be a mediocre one, but it's not just a paint by numbers because really, as it goes on, you really don't know what's going to happen next.
right, that is correct. All right. Well, that wraps up our episode for this week. Do you have a shout out, Mike?
I do. I know that it's, wonky. We've always said that it's kind of crazy because we don't know when people are hearing this or whatever, but I've got a couple different podcasts that I want to shout out real quick that have started back up at the beginning of the year. So one of them is the Needless Things podcast, which is from my friend Dave West. He took a bit of a hiatus and now is back. And one of the episodes that we recorded that has been released already by the time you hear this is our series review of the Penguin miniseries that was on Max, the one to watch for HBO. And that was a lot of fun talking to Dave and his friends all about the Penguin and the series and where we think it might go from here. And I'm glad to see that Dave's back with Needless Things because it's a fun show. Not just the ones that I'm on, but I like the ones that he has an interesting take on things. He always brings interesting discussions, and he says he's got some big things planned. So if you haven't checked out Needless Things because it's been gone for a while, it's back and probably going to be better than ever. So good things there. So the other one I wanted to point out too is that since it's the start of the new year, 2025, we are starting up again with the Dragon Con report. So look for the first episode of Dragon Con Dragon Con Report 2025 edition. That should be released in January as well. We'll be recording that live. We'll stream live, and then it'll be available on all the media platforms. So two podcasts that I'm still very much happy to be coming back to in 2025.
Awesome. All right, and for my shout out, just because these two episodes reminded me so much of it. Robin Hood Men in Tights. I love that movie, and I'm always quoting things from it. I'm surprised I didn't quote anything when we were talking about this. But yeah, I have a fondness for that movie just because it's hilarious.
I do love me a good Robin Hood movie. The one that was with Errol Flynn was probably about a decade, was made and released about a decade before I think this episode aired. This episode was there, but it still had a huge influence. I think Robin Hood is one of those characters that I liked as a kid and I can't get enough of. Like if they make a good movie or show or story or whatever, comic, et cetera, I'm there for it. So some have been better than others, but yeah, I still think that the hero's got some interesting possibilities and he's fun to play around with. It's just like here, it's a weird fit, but especially when you try to make him out to be a bad guy. And because I mean, yeah, that's just yeah, it needs to be a little bit more skillfully done, I think. But yeah, still pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a big Robin Hood fan myself. When I was growing up, I think it was The Adventures of Robin Hood. I think it was in black and white
Mm.
that used to be on like in the afternoons or something. I used to watch it. So that's how I got introduced to Robin Hood and always liked that character. And I always watch all movies and stuff with it. They're about Robin Hood also. So, all right. If you'd like to comment on anything we've talked about tonight, you can reach us at our feedback line 317-455-8411. Text us, leave us a message, or you can email us at batchumspodcast@gmail.com. All right, Batchum, are you ready to get out of here?
BatChums ready to move out.
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Don't worry, the worst is yet to come. We're only just started with season 2.